More will turn up or not. That doesn't matter. Eric. Ramiz, could you explain to me, firstly, what is that toxic starting point, and how do you discover it? I'm getting you to do my homework for me.
About my own starting point, or?
Well, in general, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be specific, although you can be if you wish.
I can't be in general. For me, I've noticed that being like passive aggressive bully is really about fear of being vulnerable about my own needs, like saying what I want and not getting what my needs met.
So would you say apologetic about having those needs?
Not even acknowledging them.
Ah, okay, okay.
So I won't have to ask for them. Looking back to my childhood, I never really got anything I asked for, so I had to manipulate the situation, playing the victim or complaining.
Yep. Doing that passive aggressive thing.
So yeah, it was like knowing what I want and asking for it was giving me more trouble than not asking for it, or even not acknowledging what I want actually, and saying to myself, I don't know what I want. It's much safer than to know what I want.
Yeah. Because you wouldn't get it if you asked for it directly.
I think it's about the fear of abandonment or helpless. That I need something that nobody there is helping me with.
So in a way, it becomes a control issue. Like you have to manipulate the situation to get something. And you do that by withholding, being the passive aggressive stuff, withholding it.
Being resentful or pushing people away. And even if I got what I want, there's part of me that feels like I don't deserve it, in a way that I would project my manipulation, that they are manipulating me, they are just being nice, you know.
Right.
I won't accept that the need is being met. Yeah, it's like lose game. It's like whatever you're gonna do, I'm gonna just.
Yeah. Right. Very complex, isn't it? Complex stuff.
Yeah, and seeing this from the other perspective is really mean, and it's very cruel thing to do. Yeah.
So do you when recognizing that, do you forgive yourself for being that way?
Like having in my perspective how I felt as a child, I kind of have some understanding. I won't say completely acceptance. There's still sense of push and pull. Like there's a sense of struggle with it. Like it's unacceptable at some level. I feel like some shame around it.
So do you do you relate to this at a mental level, or is there a way that you can relate to it without playing with thoughts?
I can feel it. I can feel it
Yes.
physically. That I can describe it. The sensation got very intense that I can describe it as being without skin.
Okay, raw.
It's like it's so vulnerable that
Yes. And very sensitive to touch. Yeah. No protection. That kind of vulnerability.
yeah, and there's a sense also, oddly enough, that it's the place where I should be.
Say that one again. It is the place you should be.
Yeah, it's like I had this experience. I was like half asleep or something, and I was like drifting to sleep while focusing on the sensations, and the sensation became so indistinguishable. Like I can't recognize what they represent, and it's like a soup of sensations, and I felt like I'm melting into the sensations in a way, and it felt so like without boundaries, in a sense that I'm like I'm losing myself to the sensations and to the sounds.
Was that pleasant or unpleasant? Was that frightening or comforting? What?
It was pleasant at first, but then there's a fear comes, and I felt like there's ocean of sensation, and I emerged from it, like something pulled me and constructed me
Yes,
as
made
a
you stop
magnet
it
or
again.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it started out pleasant, but got a bit scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's kind of like exposing your soul to the universe, isn't it? Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Thanks, Ramiz. I really relate to that, that sense of passive aggressive, not having needs met as a child, and then being in the process of owning that and recognizing that and feeling that, and also just then asking for help when I need it, and being okay if the person says no. I really feel a sense of the fear of rejection, the fear that means that I'm really unworthy of anyone's support and love. So it's feeling that. It's difficult to stay with that feeling for me.
Again, it's really complex, isn't it? So the thought came up, do you reject yourself first before anybody else can reject you? Is that a process that happens?
Yeah, it's not that overt, like I would just push people away. So it's like it's like asking for a want it would make a conflict unnecessarily, and I just, why bother?
But if you push them away
But
first, they can't push you away.
yeah, it's
Yeah, that's interesting, Vince. But I also, I kind of do the opposite, which is I just think, well, if they do that for me, the fear of indebtedness actually kind of is what comes over me.
Right.
Like I owe them, and I'm going to have to pay it back, and probably more than I want to.
Mm. Oh God, I'm just overwhelmed with the complexity today. Yeah.
Feel the impulse to add some theory.
Say that again, David. I missed that.
I feel the impulse to add some theory because often when we're a baby, the imprint from childhood, every need from a baby and a child, it's a life of life or death situation. Every need. I mean, he's and often it's very basic needs, you know, but if he's cold, he's gonna die. So someone needs to take care of this. So every need is a life of death situation. I think it's important to remember this because at some point in this process, when you go very deep and deep and deep into the layer, at some point the needs that you feel you touch kind of always and often this fear of death that was present and still present now. So every need, even if it's I want to drink a coffee and there's no coffee, and you still feel fear, has nothing to do with coffee, of course. It has to do with this child that if I don't, my needs are not met, I'm going to die.
Yep.
I'm going to
And,
die.
and every single need that a child experiences is devoid of a sense of time. That need is always there for a while before it gets satisfied, if it gets satisfied. But even if it does get satisfied quickly, it's still there for an infinite period of time before that happens for the baby. No need is satisfied before it arises. Well, maybe some are, but yeah, if it's cold for forever until that gets fixed up. If it's hungry forever before that gets satisfied.
One thing interesting about babies, because often there is the baby state is very romanticized, you know, like, oh, baby are innocent and everything. But in fact, the baby state in early age is a creation of the ego. So all of the patterns are kind of very going deep into the body and the cells of the body. And I heard you, Rami, say that if you ask for a need and it's not met, you lose. And if the need is met, you lose too, because now you lose something or not, something happened. But this is when you feel that there is no good choice, this is ego. You can see this is the perspective of an individual with everything that come up with everything. And you can say the first time that you experience this, it's in the womb. So the baby before being birthed, he have two choices, and two choices are bad. Or he stay into the womb and doesn't go out of the mother, and he die and his mother die, or he go outside of the womb and he die because what is out there, you know, what's going on? He died from who he is as a fetus in a way. But this is kind of the first imprint that they have no choice. There is no choice. Both choices I have are bad. Or I die. And then you're born, and after you have this for years until now you are here, and we have all of this baggage kind of in us. So I just wanted to add this layer of deepness that, of course, we can talk about our personality and how we react and what happened at this level. It is important to understand that the more you go deep and the less you identify with thoughts, the more you enter into into layers that are thoughtless in a way, and is kind of, and you touch his fear. So his fear of it is existential fear that appear a lot. And now I'm framing this fear in a birth story, but because this is kind of what feels right now. I think it's
So relate this, how do you relate this to what Ramiz and Eloise are saying about that, their experience there? Lead that into that.
because I completely have I have a very similar behavior about needs.
Okay.
My needs weren't met, and I had trauma and everything, that doesn't matter. But my behavior is easier to deal with my frustration and emotion than to take the risk and to ask that my need is met. So I become very good in dealing with emotion and frustration and everything, because it was easier to do this than to take action to the world, to step up. No, I want this for me. It's important for me, and to step up. And I found out in my own history that was really connected to childhood fears and stuff. Because for example, my mother wasn't very present, so each time I had a need, he run away, right? So that's what I learned, that if I ask for something, the people run away. So I better not ask anything and deal with my frustration, and at least I can have some relationship. At least there is something, you know.
So
but
did you also develop a sense that you weren't worthy of getting something?
oh yes, but I think the unworthiness, it goes very deep. It goes so deep, this unworthiness. Thinking about if I have to share my history or not, because Ramiz was sharing, and but it really has to be, it's about connection, because I had a very physical connection, and baby can relate only in with sensation. You have to touch the baby, you have to be with him in a somatic way, so he can feel that there is someone present. So when you grow up like me, like, you have to let the baby child, the child scream. It's good for him. So I'll to dissociate myself from my needs, my need of contact, my need of love, my need of appreciation, my need of someone else. And I learned to dissociate and to cut myself from other. And so of course, when you talk about need, for me, you are talking about this part, this child that his need is not met, and how you construct your whole personality that come after onto this lack and
the
this
toxic starting
dissociation
point.
state.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and certainly my conditioning was, if you had any needs, you were really selfish, and selfish was the worst thing you could be.
It's very difficult. I am a father, okay, and my child is 2.5 years old now, but my history is very difficult, because I know he has need, and at the same time I am aware that I am not able to fulfill all of them. So that's why I say the child history is not innocence. It's an impossible situation. It's impossible to answer all of the needs of the child. At the same time, all of his needs are life or death situation. So what do you do? Or you do your best, you know? But yes, I get it that like the need of the child, it's supreme. It has to be supreme in our family. So that's what I'm trying to do. But every family do this at his best, you know. So, but also after, what is difficult in this process is like after you have a lot of layers of belief that come up onto it. And our society, selfishness is seen very bad, but at some point you see that selfishness is the only way to be happy. And true selfishness is true empathy. You know, so it's completely reversal. But there is layers that come up after in society and family. Like for example, if you step up in your family and say, I don't want to do this tradition anymore, you know, like giving gift at Christmas or something very like, seems very small, you know, I did this, and it creates a huge wave in the family. I mean, I just say, I don't want my kid to receive gifts for Christmas. It's my kid, I choose, I don't. It creates a huge mess in my family, you know. But yeah, but that's what it is in time.
It's kind of like yeah, I had this story that it's every child's duty to suffer. It's not possible not to. You could have parents that could dote on it and give it absolutely everything it needed, attend to its perceived needs instantly, and you would end up with a very spoilt child who would have a lot of suffering in its life. And the opposite is also true. There is no winning. There's no possible way a child can grow up. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm happily childless, Vince.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of worked out there was
I
no.
think it can be useful to know at which level you are working with the needs, because if it's a personal needs, you know, your life, your personality, you need something for your life, your career and everything, we go for it, you know, do everything you need, do psychology, do therapy, do everything that works, you know. But there is a need beneath this, which is life or death, which is existential needs, and these are, if you have to approach this in a different way, otherwise it can become very messy, everything. From my perspective. So it's just useful to kind of be aware of those kind of two fields and how to work with them a little bit differently. So it's it can be easier.
It is a matter of life and death, yeah. And I have another story that says that we develop a self as a suit of armor, a self, and so our self runs around the world like everything is a case of survival. Everything. Yeah, we no matter what we do, no matter where we are, who we're talking with, whatever, we're in a survival mode. While ever we try to keep that self alive and going well. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is what is important related to what Rami said and Eloise and what I share, because it is true that the self is a defense mechanism. So we have to undo it and somehow be free from it, and all of this story of non-duality. At the same time, the need of your specific need as a person are very important to you, and you have to meet them. Charlie, you have to find a way to meet them. And those both situations are not contradictory, even if they seem so. So if you come from a non-dual perspective, from I have to undo this construction, of course I will say it doesn't matter if you need that met or not. It doesn't matter, just look emotion, look at reaction, just stay with this, stay in the gap. But if you come and tell me I want a new job, I will say, well, what do you have to do? You know, if you tell me I'm angry, I'm sad all of the day, and maybe you have to do therapy, maybe you have to meet his needs of the person at the moment. And both layers are simultaneous and are not opposites, but you approach it in a different way. I hope that makes sense.
I think that the ego part, the defensive mechanism, the more there is a sense of safety whether inside or outside, the more its job becomes redundant, like it's not needed anymore.
Well,
And
wait a minute. This is a big one. You know, I think it's a really big one. Sorry if I missed a little bit there, but anyway, there is no such thing as a sense of safety. There's only the opposite of that, right? A sense of not being safe. When you are safe, you don't even think about it, right? But I get what you're saying. You know, so one of the big things that is in my experience is, and it's the same thing, is there, I use the words, I say there is a trust that I'm not threatened in any way. There's a trust that everything is okay. Well, there's no such thing as trust either. There's a trust that what there is the absence of the opposite. So there is I hate to use this word, there is a knowing that everything is okay, whatever it is, it's okay. It's not, I don't feel threatened. I don't feel mistrust. I don't feel unsafe anywhere. But while ever we are catering to the idea of a self, those things are there. We do feel threatened. We do feel unsafe, because that's the job of the self, is to constantly be on the lookout for. It's like somebody working in security. Everywhere they're suspicious. No matter where they look, they're suspicious. Well, that's the job of the self, to do that. And without the self, there's absolutely no need to do that, because there is nothing threatening happening. That's not just philosophy. That's my experience. And, you know, funny, I just had got the results of a melanoma that was taken off my leg, and at no point was there any fear that it might kill me. You know, there was like, it's okay. Whatever happens is okay. You know, if I become cancer ridden, well, that's okay. It's not, there's no threat involved. It just is what it is, kind of thing. That's not to say there's not, it is wrong to say there's a desire to be healthy, but there's an active interest in the possibility of being healthy. And if there's no possibility, then there's no interest in it. So that doesn't matter. So when people say they feel safe, what they're saying is they don't feel threatened. They don't feel unsafe. And if they're reminding themselves that that means they're safe, then they're just off in their head, aren't they? So the beauty of feeling unsafe or feeling threatened is that it's pointing to where there's still identification with a self. That's beautiful. That is just, what a wonderful gift to have. And you could probably extend that, and this just came to me then, you could probably extend that to just to wants. I want this, I want that. Same thing. What do we want it for? We want it so that we can feel better. So we have a story about what's wrong with now. How can it be better? Again, we're off in our head. We're just catering to that self again. I didn't mean that to come over as a lecture.
I thought it was ironic that with my conditioning, I was drawn to monastic life, and that was the ultimate, you can't have any needs when you come here. And so it was like being, you know, it was kind of like being drawn to the sun, and just, but in a really, really punitive way for me.
Mm.
If you had any needs, you were told just, you know, shape up or ship out.
Mm. Which kind of leads to denial, doesn't it? Leads to
Oh
suppression.
yeah, denial and depression. Denial and depression.
Mm. How are you relating to this, Eric? Sorry, Eloise, go on.
And isolation, a sense of isolation.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess every seeker goes through a thing of wondering what it would be like going to that cave in the Himalayas and not having any external pressures and being able to focus 100% on this. But of course, looking at it now, it's the biggest joke ever, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I discovered that the hard way.
Yeah, yeah, actually went there. Yeah, they're cold and
Yeah, cold and miserable and depressing.
yeah. Mm.
Yeah. But now my Buddhist friends think I'm just flaky.
Well, you could put that on as a badge of honor, maybe. I love it. Yeah. Yeah, I take great pride. Well, I say that, you know, and I kind of do in a way in being a weirdo. You know, I'm really happy for everybody to see me as a weirdo. It gives me permission to be however I want. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because that peer group pressure is absolutely huge. It is indomitable. You know, there's no escaping it. You know, it's like it doesn't even need spoken word to be active. It's just phenomenal, isn't it? Yeah. And you can see the moment we start sending our kids to school where that starts. I mean, they get it from their parents before them, but once they get to school, boy, it gets strong. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very tricky because often people enter into tradition, specific tradition with a group and everything. So there is a lot of advantage into it because you have some clarity, you have fellowship, you have a lot of good stuff. At the same time, at some point, you have to get out of this. You know?
Mm.
So this at this point become very difficult because there you have you know
Mm. Mm.
you are committed to this language, to this people, to this way of being, and you are someone who is of this tradition, who and this betray. So there is a whole of this. But the other path that I take, and I feel that you took, Vince, also is the path of the weirdo. Like you study everything, but your language is not really specific to anything, and you can switch. But in this path, you get lost a lot. You you, you have to take all of the alley and you and everything. So it's messy also. But both paths have advantage and
Yeah.
danger is not the right word, but you know you have to be careful of stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. I am a weirdo also, but I hide it behind the psychologic theory very well, so it's fine.
Mm. Yeah. So in a way, this stuff is almost, well, it's not true to say, but it's like the cult of the individual. But then it's also not that. You know, there's so it's the celebration of uniqueness, but there's also a beautiful connection that comes with it. That's sometimes a bit hard to find, depending. Yeah. I mean, it's easy with you guys, you know, but out there in the world, in the so-called real, or the unreal world, it's yeah. I'm finding it. But once upon a time, it used to be very much for me, it used to be a case of, well, if you really know me, if you really knew me, you'd like me because I'm a good bloke. You know? Now it's, I don't expect you'll ever get to know me because I don't even know me. Mm. Mm. How are you going, Eric?
Good. And I was just enjoying listening to the conversation. I can't exactly relate to it. I think I maybe had the opposite problem. I grew up, I think maybe I never remember my parents ever saying a bad word, saying a cuss word, or except one time my sister said that my parents were having a party and I dumped a can of sugar on the floor like 30 minutes before everybody was supposed to come. And that was the only time my mom said, "You damn kids." So I think I don't have any feeling of like that of feeling like, I guess it's the opposite problem, because I think what I grew up with was um, so I was an engineer, I think pretty highly paid and respected as an engineer. But I think in the back of my mind, I think I was always afraid of being discovered to be a fake or something like that. Of being a bright person, but maybe afraid that people are going to find out that I'm really not so bright, that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And I actually, the other night I was, I think I still have dreams about kind of like work situations where I just think the other night I had some dream where I they wanted me to give a talk about something, and I really had nothing to say. And I was in this dream state. I was trying to think of something to say, and there was nothing to, I realized it was just, I think it was the design of a boat or something like that. I wasn't a boat designer or anything, but yeah, it's just like I couldn't think of anything to say. So it was that feeling must be somewhere in my subconscious of,
Yeah.
that it comes out in a dream, like I've retired like 10, 15 years ago, and that same feeling is somehow in my subconscious.
Right. So when you retired, did you feel relief that they're not going to discover what a fake you were anymore?
I never enjoyed corporate life. So yeah, it was, I worked for a couple small startups, and that was great, but I never really fit into the corporate world of, like 1,000 engineers working on a project, having to be visible and all that kind of stuff. But on a small, team where there's 6 of you and you're all doing different things, that was great. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that.
Much more creative.
Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, I was thinking about the other day, it's like that must be one of my toxic, I mean, if I'm dreaming about stuff like that at night, it must be just really buried somewhere pretty deeply.
So one of the techniques you can use to find any stuff there that might be there for you to work on is to think about creating a sentence, and then you say the sentence, ideally you say it aloud, and just watch for a reaction, watch for your feeling, watch what comes up. So if you were to, and you don't want something that's going to bring up a huge reaction. You want something that's going to bring up some reaction. So if you were to say something like, well, deep down, I'm really a fake, and you get no reaction to it, then you kind of make it a stronger one. You say, well, I fooled everybody. My whole life, I fooled them into thinking that I was something different to what I was, and see if that brings up a reaction. And when you do get a reaction, what you do is you look for the sensation that is that reaction, the sensation component of that reaction. And as you approach the sensation in a more pure form, as you can identify where it is in the body and what its shape and color and intensity, how much heat's involved, that kind of discovery of it. You'll also see stories that are attached to it, and they can come from a long way back, some of those stories, but they'll drop off as you get closer and closer to the sensation. The stories will drop off. And that dropping off of the stories is the working with it. And if there's juice there, you can actually sit in a gap between the sensation and the stories. So you're not looking at the sensation directly, and you're not looking at the stories directly. You're just hovering in between the two. It's a kind of a subtle one, that one, but yeah, if you can sit there, then you'll be in a place where there's juice, and what comes up very interesting. Yeah, they call it taking it to the laboratory. Yeah. That's a Theta 6 technique.
Yeah.
Or Theta 4-5 technique, actually. Yeah, for desire and aversion, or desire and ill will. But yeah. Anyway, but it's very handy to know that. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I guess I don't really have to deal with it much except in my dreams.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But Eric, do you feel the sensation of fraud when you talk about spirituality, about non-duality to other people or groups?
Oh, no, no, it's more of, I think it was more of, even that experience was more of being, I'm kind of I'm not a, partier. I don't like, big groups of people. And so I think some of my experience was just being in this large corporate environment where, you're being judged by your reputation, and you don't have much control over it. But no, I think it's a lot of it's just being in a big group like that just was uncomfortable for me. Yeah.
So how do you feel about that?
I guess I don't feel any particular way. I mean, I guess it would be nice to be able to be comfortable in big groups that but I just don't really feel that way.
So it doesn't worry you. You're happy to.
Yeah, it doesn't worry me.
Mm.
I'm not forced to be in a big group, but yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Okay, so why are you here?
Oh, why am I here?
Mm.
I mean, for me, a lot of it's because like I, mentioned before, is in my early years, I, kind of had the monastic kind of situation. I kind of left that. I just was, I built a boat and sailed around Mexico. I just wanted to explore things, and then I wanted to go to school, and then I had a family, just
Mm.
and some of it for me now is like I just never really finished that project I started a long time ago. I guess because I'm getting 70, almost 77, and I guess I feel like I didn't finish something.
Right. Yep. You're the same age as me.
Yeah.
Mm. So there's a sense of finishing is a funny one, but there's a sense of adventure, a sense of exploring, a sense of how would you put it?
Yeah, I guess I would put it that way. Like I was talking with my daughter, and I was mentioning how um the idea of like going on a 49-day retreat sounds adventurous to me,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, I don't know what would be the result of it.
No, that's part of the
Um,
adventure, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. But there is that feeling that it would be good. There would be a good outcome.
Yeah. Yeah, possibly. I mean, I know that I would learn some things. Might just learn I would never want to do that again. Who knows what
Oh,
I would
yep,
learn.
yep. But sailing your boat around Mexico was a pretty big adventure. You were doing that alone? Were you a lone sailor?
I had a girlfriend with me most of the time.
Right. Right.
And I left San Diego. I had $200 in my pocket, and when I came back a year and a half later, I had $25.
Good one. And a whole world of adventure under your belt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, your original monastic experience was in a Zen monastery, eh?
Right.
So that's very much I can only imagine, of course, not having done it myself, but I can see that could be a very lonely kind of, or very solitary rather than lonely kind of.
I didn't experience it that way. Yeah, no, I didn't experiencing it that way. I just I guess at one point I just started. I was cold. It was in the mountains, and you wake up and the water would be frozen, and you wear flip flops everywhere, and there's snow on the ground. And I don't remember really being cold doing meditation, but I just remembered I did start dreaming about warm tropical beaches, and um, yeah, I just had a picture of that, and um, I guess that motivated me. And I didn't really see, I never had a dream to be a professional Zen teacher or something like that, and that's kind of what you do if you stay in that. It's like that becomes your profession. And I never really, for me, it was more just an exploration.
Yeah, self-discovery.
Yeah.
Mm. So that continues, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess it's because once you get into the workaday world, like it's
Yes,
just
you put that on hold.
so many years of 2 weeks of a year of vacation, and I just boy, I was really ready to leave. I mean, I didn't have any choice at that, when you have a family, you don't really have a choice. You feel
Yeah.
that's just that became your life.
Mm.
And so
So are you in a family situation now?
oh yeah, I'm married, and um um actually I'm deal with someone who does feel very, very insecure and unsafe,
Mm.
and sometimes I don't know how to deal with it.
Mm.
But
Yeah, we'd all like to be able to just give a gift of something that would change those people's suffering, wouldn't we? Yeah.
yeah.
But it seems not possible. Yeah. So still your life is as mine is, I guess, very much centered around family. Yeah.
um y- I I mean, yeah, it's important to me, yeah. But I guess I think I built this little meditation hall here, and I come down here and do meditation in the morning and evenings, and um
Enjoy
you
yourself.
know yeah, I like working in the garden and building things, and
Yep.
so mm,
So you're very self-contained. Yeah. So what is your relationship to the people in these groups? How do you feel about that, them?
um in some ways it's a little frustrating to me. I mean, I guess because when you know doing the Zen thing, I I think as a like when I was in high school, I remember being real interested in philosophy and thinking about things, and I think after a few years of you know working with a Roshi, it's just I kind of lost my feeling for concepts and um, words, and sometimes it's frustrating when I hear people just like any word is, it's like opaque. You know, they don't, like a word like sensation, it's just a word, you know, it doesn't, I don't think about things that way, I guess.
Mhm. Mm.
So sometimes it's, so many labels, it seems like we're in this, studying this or working with this thing where we're trying to do pure experience, but all the words that we're using is like bubble of reality, you know, post-its and all these words that I kind of don't really relate to it, I guess, too much.
Mm. Mm.
Though I mean, I understand it as a kind of an interesting concept, but it's a mind concept.
Mm.
It's not like hitting a hammer on a nail. It's where you're just hitting the hammer. You know, when you start having all these ideas, and I don't know. Sometimes I can't really relate to it.
Can I challenge you, Eric, a little bit?
Yeah.
So hitting with a hammer is not mind stuff.
But what?
If you hit a nail with a hammer, it is not mind stuff. It's not a mind experience.
There's no you, there's no thinking, there's no, it's not conceptual, it's just happened. And
What happened if you clap your hand like this? What is happening in your experience?
just that.
Because you say that thinking is conceptual, but when you hit a nail with a hammer, seems not conceptual. But
No,
I'm
it's just,
asking you, what is concrete about hitting a nail with a hammer? What is concrete about that? What is experience make it concrete, more concrete than thought?
well, it's just, I mean, it's like if I'm doing something and then I have an idea and I walk across the room and I've got ideas in my head. But when I'm actually doing it, it's just doing it.
But what is concrete? What is concrete about this?
What do you mean by concrete? I don't know. It's just a word.
Okay, because I have the sense that you say that thinking is mental, but hitting something, hitting things, or doing actions is concrete, right?
I don't know what you mean by concrete. I mean, it's just experience
Okay.
without thinking about, without imagining things or words coming in, or, I mean, the thoughts are concrete in that same sense, but they're not as, it's not as, it's wispy. It's not,
Not as concrete.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm trying to help me, Vince. Help me, or someone. Eloise,
So Eric,
someone.
when you said hitting a nail with a hammer, right? When you said that, I saw your expression change, and I had the distinct impression that you had a feeling that you.
Yeah, because when
you were just talking about it. You were just saying the words "hitting a nail with a hammer," and
yeah, I
here.
know it's very conceptual. But when you're actually,
But it was more than conceptual, because you had that feeling as a result of saying those words.
yeah,
Yeah.
I,
Can you get
I-
in touch with that feeling? Do you remember having that feeling? You leant forward and your demeanor changed when you said
oh yeah,
hitting a nail with a hammer.
yeah, because I mean, we're just talking words, and I maybe imagined that, but I know I've had the experience of just
Yeah. So you,
being involved in you know, planing a piece of wood and
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
not really thinking about what I'm doing. It's just doing it.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I was probably imagining, you know, like
Yeah. So your brain probably didn't know the difference between you saying you're hitting a nail with a hammer and actually doing it, although there was a slight difference. But your brain responded. You responded with a sensation and a good feeling about doing it. It was something that was there now. So and yet you talk about these other uses of words like there is absolutely no connection to a feeling, and that's what you mean by dead words. I guess I'm thinking, is that yeah?
well, I guess more words that aren't.
They don't lead you to anywhere.
Yeah, well, I was actually thinking about like so there's some Buddhist sutras that get translated in English, and the English translation is
Changes it.
just like it's like they use words like form. You know, the Chinese word, they just use the word color. I mean, the character looks, it's like any modern Chinese person would recognize it as just meaning color. And then the word for emptiness is Kong. It's like Kong Tiao is like an air conditioner. It could mean air, it could mean space, but it doesn't mean emptiness. Emptiness has all these like feelings about
Yes. Yep.
it's like
Yeah.
something, you know, almost kind of sad or something, but it's just like the words just create feelings without anything really they're more complicated than the direct Chinese
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, like things like mental formation, and you know, it just the 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 Chinese is so much more direct and simple. It's not as
Yes, yes, I get what you say. My understanding is that the Chinese expression of something is way more subtle. There is a lot more in it than the English version. The English version attempts to be
it's
concrete.
more abstract.
Yeah, yeah,
It's more a little more abstract.
yeah.
Instead of you know, like most people read something like the Heart Sutra, and it doesn't
Yep, yep. Not even close to something. Yeah.
it doesn't, what the heck are they talking about?
So aren't we actually here attempting to almost escape the world of words and thoughts? Don't we appreciate the limitation of them in a big way? I do. Yeah. But oh, I say but it's not really a but there's this language problem again, isn't it? What's the alternative? We're kind of stuck with using words in order to get somewhere beyond words.
I know, and that's the fascinating thing about Zen, is that there's more Zen literature, millions and millions and lines of literature that's talking about something that's supposed to be beyond um, that's is inexpressible in words, and it's just
Yeah.
but that's what humans do, I guess.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. So if we end up using 1,000 words trying to explain something, we're still lost in words, aren't we?
Right.
What we are attempting to do here is to move in the direction of experiencing stuff.
Right.
And so yeah, I mean, I read a thing years ago when I was a seeker, it was in one of Jed McKenna's books. I forget which one now, doesn't matter. And he said, you know, he used the word enlightenment. I detest that word, but he said, two enlightenment people get together on a park bench and they sit next to each other and they look at each other and nod. And that becomes the full extent of their conversation. They've got nothing to say. Yeah. And I get that. I grok that. It's yeah. We come up out of the world of reality in order to communicate some drivel, some tedious non-event thing that we do all day, every day, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
people enjoy like humor, literature.
Well, they enjoy the feelings they get out of it, you know. But see,
Yeah.
here we go. We got this really weird circular, or I call it a spiral rather than a circular thing. But we start off lost in thoughts, and the whole point of it is that we have developed this world of thoughts in an attempt to make ourselves feel better, but it doesn't work, you know. So we end up
Right.
suffering, you know, and then we go through this process, and we get to realize that all those thoughts are the basis. That's where our problems are, you know. So we don't stop them. We just stop paying attention to them, you know. And then we start to realize that wait a minute. Everything that I perceive in the world is a result of thoughts. It's all stories. It's fucking stories all the way down. There's no escaping.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we're free of them again, even though they exist. We're no longer compelled to obey somebody else's version of that story. We're kind of a bit wowed by our discovery that they're our own creation, kind of thing. So we're back to where we started from, but in a different place, kind of.
Yeah. I guess maybe what I'm sort of pointing to is I mean, words are fun. That's interesting imagery, you know, poetry. But I don't think words are very good for getting a sense of understanding, or maybe or no, just happiness.
Knowing's the word that comes to mind, but okay,
Knowing, yeah.
that's a shitty word too. But okay, we have, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Yeah.
I want to um, approach thoughts in a more broad way, because under the impression that we are talking about thought in a very in one aspect of thoughts, but that's what I was trying to convey with the experience of the hammer, the nail. That you, in my experience, is thought-based, in the sense that a sensation is not physical. A sensation, it's in awareness, it's in your mind. There's nothing physical about a sensation. The physicality of sensation is built by thoughts, but everything, but the sensation itself, you cannot find a sensation. So if we talk about thoughts, I would say that everything that appears in the mind, that is not, in essence, there is nothing to grab, can be said to be a thought. So if you look and you experience, you sense perception and the sensations and thoughts, what we say thoughts, are all of it are in your mind. Experience is thought. Because
Yeah, I guess when I'm thinking of thoughts, I'm thinking more of like the, what goes on with your brain. You're thinking about like things you need to do, what someone said, and they're just sort of coming and going like this. They're not very, I mean, I guess there are thoughts, like as an engineer, you sit there and you're trying to think of all the things that can go wrong, and you're imagining stuff and, that kind of thinking. I mean, I guess that's valuable, but I guess the kind of thinking where the wispy thoughts that are coming through that aren't really directed, that those kind of thinking thoughts, they're very different than like experience of touch, taste.
Yeah, movement and
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So this is kind of, because I am exploring this now, okay? And it is true that in a way, when you start, you think, oh, thoughts, it's immaterial, but there is concrete, go into your sensation, go into your visual field. This is kind of more real than thought. But if your project is to have an adventure and to finish this process, my suggestion would be to investigate sensation and sense perception deeply. Because if you did a lot of Zen, it's clear for you that thought is thinking and all of it's clear. So that's okay. Just do what you have to do. I mean, I'm sure this is automatic already. So okay. So now what? Well, I would suggest now what? Because I am under the impression that you take thinking thoughts as opposite to concreteness, to this, to nail, to sensation, and stuff.
No, I just think it is another, in the same way that, you've got touch, taste, sight, and you have thoughts, and they come in your somehow sense field.
yeah, but what David's saying is that you're limiting yourself to only one aspect of thoughts there. And I get it. That's where you start with when we were talking about a moment ago about that spiral. But he's referring to something else, and he's saying that those thoughts are only one aspect of thoughts. That there's another aspect of thoughts too, and when you get really into it, you'll realize that your experience is actually only thoughts too. So we're way below the five senses input. The five senses input is in fact interpreted by the brain as something actual, as a feeling, whatever, but that is still just a thought. It's a different kind of thought, if you like.
Mhm.
And then if you get beneath that again, you get to the point where the whole world and everybody in it
Yeah.
are your thoughts. They're all created by your thoughts, as your thoughts, as you are. You are yourself just a thought.
Mhm.
It appears solid, but that solidness, when you get to look at it, is just thought.
One way to approach this and to have a very clear vision of this is dreaming. When you dream, you are a character in a dream, and there is objects, space, time is changed a little bit, but there is kind of sense of space, color. There is other character, they speak to you, but you don't know what they think, even if they're in your own mind. So all of the dream experience is thought-based, even though they will experience character, thing, people hiding, people say something to you, you feel surprised, but it's your own mind. So there is kind of, yeah, but this is the same in now. At this moment, this experience of physicality, of sensation, it's weird in your mind. It's
Oh,
thought-based.
yeah.
Yeah. Isn't
Yeah.
this,
But not
isn't
in
it
the mind, the
wonderful?
brain. Not in the mind, the brain. There is no brain. There is no body in which sensation appear. There is no physicality out of which sensation and perception appear.
Yeah.
There is awareness, there is thoughts, and then there is kind of these layers of seemingly different thoughts that build your experience, your actual experience.
Mm.
I mean, I don't want to explain or to be much theory, but
You can't.
like I say, Vince, I want to invite you maybe to explore deeper in your
Yeah.
your sensation and perception in this approach. And I'm talking about the dream because often we think, oh, okay, my thought in my brain and sensation in my brain and perception is in my brain. Okay. So, but with this, if you still have this belief or this way of approaching your experience with that belief, you will still hold there is a physical world out there and I'm kind of in there and I'm exploring stuff. But if you take the analogy of the dream, it will be much more easier because it makes a lot of sense. I'm speaking now and you can hear me, right? So there is some kind of connection between you and me. There is some kind of thing that makes things current, that things are, if I move the hand, I can feel it, the image change. But the currents, what makes everything perfectly aligned is not a physical world, it's a mental world. It's a consciousness world. It's like in your dream, if you drop something, if you drop a ball in your dream, the ball is falling. But it's not because there is a physical space, it's because your mind knows that
Yeah.
if the hand is moving, the ball will do this and
If it
everything
lands
like
on your
that.
feet, it still hurts.
Exactly, it will hurt.
Yeah.
But it will not hurt because there is a physical object or because there is a physical fit. It will hurt because the mind that is holding all of your experience is it's an intelligence that is beyond understanding. It's just unbelievable. It's unimaginable how precise calculation you can do. You can hold together. But it's not because it holds together that there is things holding.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense,
You
but
do
I like
this,
it.
you do this a bit, David. Yeah. Look, we're talking, beyond feta 10 stuff here. This is wow. If you sailed your boat down past Mexico, you'd come to the land of Narnia or something like that. And that's where this stuff is. Yeah.
Well, Eric have a project, and I'm here to supporting him. He wants to end
Yeah, I
it.
know you
Well,
are. You
here we
can't
go.
help
This is
it. Yeah. All right. Let's just say, Eric, that there's lots to discover.
Oh, yeah. Well, I believe that. That's why
Yeah.
I can, picture a 49-day retreat as
Yes.
as
Yeah.
an adventure.
There's a possibility. Yeah. So you're
why
thinking
not
of
as
doing one? Is there one available that you're going to do?
There is one in Poland, and yeah, but it's kind of we're going to China for 6 weeks, and it sort of would kind of cut into that,
Okay, yeah.
or make it
Why
difficult to
not
do.
an adventure about Eric, 77 years Eric retreats? How about that? Would you like it?
Yeah, that, I mean, that is the adventure. I guess I'm maybe getting the age when I think, oh, maybe the adventures are gonna stop.
Oh, they'll stop the day you die. That's it. That's it. Not before then. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't even know about that, you know. Maybe not. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. How are you going, Leonard? You're being very patient there. Is this stuff of interest to you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, actually something very good happened yesterday, because yeah, I have to tell a bit what was going on before, because last week actually was very exhausting, and yeah, somehow at the weekend, I told you before, like I had these dream things, and then I didn't really sleep a lot, and I couldn't really recover from the stressful week. But recently I started to yeah, think that I have to do something for stress reduction. And I'm not a sports person. I mean, sometimes I try to do yoga, but then after a week, I don't do it anymore.
Yeah. What about your cold water thing?
Yeah, but I do that once a week, and that's enough. I mean, I wouldn't do that every day. So it's kind of a nice coming into the weekend ritual, but I wouldn't like to do it every day. And
Stress reduction.
yeah, I discovered a guy on YouTube who is doing breath work. It's also called psychedelic breathing. And then I started to do that, and it was really amazing, because yeah, you have to breathe quite strongly, and then there are like some parts where you have like 2 or 3 minutes of breath retention. And I was quite amazed by it, because I could really relax into not breathing for 3 minutes. And also, also, yeah, it was quite interesting, because some emotions came up, but not in an intellectual way, really in a physical way. So it was kind of really connected to direct experience as well, although I would say that I was really in this kind of altered state of mind. And yeah, I could really sense that there was only awareness, nothing else. And at the same time, I felt very happy and a lot of love, I would call it like this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then a thought kicked in, and it was like my body telling me, you should not work that much. You should not do that. It's not good for you. I don't know. But I was not really clear about that. Only yesterday, I met my boss, and then very spontaneously, I didn't plan it at all, really. I told her that I want to work less. And then she said, yeah, okay, then we will reduce your hours from 40 hours to 30. So, and I felt really relieved because I had to think of one of Pernille's videos, because she said, go or enter a conversation unprepared. And it was not my decision, really. It was something that happened spontaneously and I hadn't planned it. And also I think it's kind of, yeah, I have to say that before I always did everything at work that they would ask from me, because I think my toxic starting point was, well, actually, I'm not so good in pretending to be such a professional person. And yeah, I also felt like a fake. So then I always thought like, oh, nobody should notice that actually I'm a fake, so I have to do everything perfectly and always do everything they ask from me and never make any mistake. And yeah, I have one colleague. She's like the only employee. The others are all freelancers. And then, yeah, we are employed, but they ask everything of us. Like they actually, it's 40 hours of teaching, which is like really a lot. But then they ask, for example, they told me I should do an extra qualification, but in my at the weekend, you know, in my free time.
Yeah, yeah.
And they asked me that because I have the other colleague, she never said no. She always did everything they asked her, because she is from Bosnia and she is in the process of getting a German passport. And this is dependent on her employment. So I think she was always like afraid, like she doesn't do that, and they were taking advantage of her. So she never said no, and now I'm the first one to always say, no, I won't do that. And it's kind of a good experience as well, because it's not this kind of pissed off, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. It's like just it feels natural now, because for many years I had this theme of not being able to say no in friendships as well. And then in Argentina I had the opportunity to do how do you use cognitive behavioral therapy. And then at one point, like my therapist said, oh, okay, that means you think when you say no to a friend, this means the friendship is over. And then I understood, yeah, of course not. I mean, I can say no, and that doesn't mean friendship, you know. And I can say no at work, and that doesn't mean they will fire me either.
Right.
So
there's no fear behind that no now.
Yeah. So, and yeah, that's why I'm quite relieved now, because it's only like 2 weeks, and then anyway in April I won't be here because I will travel to Indonesia, so I won't work. And I can't, yeah, and also I bought the book The Direct Path, and my idea is to put it into my backpack, and so I can enjoy myself traveling Indonesia and exploring
Good with you.
exercises. Yeah.
Sounds good. So
excuse me, just 2 minutes. I just jumped something. When will you be in Indonesia?
In April, from the 7th until the 28th, I think.
Because I will be in Bali
Ah,
in
uh-huh,
April, June.
uh-huh.
So we keep in touch. Okay. Maybe we can meet
Okay,
if
yeah,
you want to.
I will be in Java only, I think.
Only Java.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I will see where it is and we'll see if we can meet. Sorry to.
Yeah, I wanted to see some volcanoes and waterfalls. So
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Mm. So you it sounds like, you know, from your time in Uruguay and, you know, coming back and this is great discoveries about yourself. You know, you are changing. You are finding a different Lennart all the way along.
yeah, there's also a different aspect because when I was in Uruguay and Argentina, like for 5 years, I didn't really work a lot. It was just like a permanent vacation and doing some online work and earning euros, which is like a lot of pesos, argentinos. So I didn't really have to work a lot. It was all a bit insecure, but an adventure. And I was totally out of the system. Like I didn't pay taxes, I didn't pay for health insurance, nothing. And it felt like a big relief because it always felt a bit heavy in Germany, like all the bureaucracy and all the stuff and like I don't know, the tax declaration and everything. So yeah, it was all kind of a bit like unofficial work and a bit illegal everything, but nobody cares anyway because everybody does it in Argentina. Like 60% of the population don't have an official work. So yeah, but then I think I kind of created my own world in which I didn't have to do anything that felt uncomfortable. And then somehow in the end, I understood like I'm imprisoned in my comfort zone, you know, like I can't go out of my comfort zone anymore because I forgot how to interact in situations that might be a bit uncomfortable. So it was also interesting for me, like for half a year, like to work 40 hours per week. Because I wanted to see, it's very uncomfortable actually, because after 8 hours of teaching, I'm always like, I always have a headache, I feel dizzy, I can't concentrate anymore on anything. I wouldn't be able to have a phone call with my friends because I'm listening, I'm hearing the words, but I don't understand anything. So but sometimes when I was in this classroom situation, thinking like, "Ugh, I can't concentrate anymore." But then I learned somehow to relax into it, and then it goes on, and it's kind of So I think this whole thing of ice bathing, for example. I usually can't stand the cold in winter, for example. So, and also this kind of thing with the breath retention. At the moment, it feels very interesting to explore this kind of uncomfortable situations. And then also, I don't like to be in groups, but I expose myself to groups more often at the moment. But it doesn't feel frightening anymore. It's just interesting. I'm curious. And I mean, about work, for example, I know I can do it. I can relax into this uncomfortable or a physically uncomfortable situation of being like very exhausted and stressed. But while I was doing this breath work, I understood, yeah, okay, now you showed it to yourself. You can function like this, but also it's not necessary to torture yourself. No, no.
Yeah, interesting. It'll be interesting to see how much stress, how your headaches and so on go now that you're working only 30 hours. And so, and of course, that's based on a change in you as well. You know, the fact that you can say no without fear is a revelation. It's something new. That's good stuff. I like it. Yeah. Yeah. And boy, it's changing fast, isn't it? It's going quite fast for you.
Yes. But yeah, I would say.
Could relate. Sorry, Leonard, go on.
No. I was
just gonna say that I was relate to what you said about saying no to work and feeling fake and do everything I was told. At the time, I wasn't really aware of this. I just become aware of this just when you were talking, and thank you for that.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, that fear of consequences, the fear of rejection, the fear of whatever it is, of course, is something that we put on ourselves. And becoming aware or discovering that those imagined consequences are only imagined consequences is a brilliant release, a freedom from that. Yeah. Boy, this whole thing is just a journey of discovery, isn't it? It's just so wonderful.
And I really relate to being fearful of saying no. And to me, it was kind of the flip side of having any needs.
Yeah.
One side was having any needs and showing I had any needs and asking for something. That was terrifying. And then the other side, terrified of saying no for fear of rejection and disapproval and punishment. So it was kind of all tied up. So now I'm coming out of that too. And it's, you know, it reverberates still, but it's also my conscious desire to reconnect with the human race and show up. So I kind of, in a kind of similar vein to you, I'm not doing English teaching or teaching German, but I'm going to be starting up my own company, leading historic walking tours with groups of people. And normally I would shun groups of people. So it's kind of like, let's see how this goes.
Another adventure.
Another adventure.
Yeah, great. Yeah. It sounds good.
Yeah.
In Adelaide, I guess. Yeah.
No, not in Adelaide.
Oh.
In Bowral.
In Bowral. Oh, in Bowral. Oh, of course. Well, yeah. Look, I grew up in Wollongong, so Bowral's not far away. Yeah, and that's a lot of history there too. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The first of the landed gentry up there.
Yeah, a bit of blue blood up here, Vince.
Good stuff.
Yeah, but it is ironic because I'm just going to be telling a lot of stories.
Say that one again.
It's ironic because I'm really researching just telling how to tell and embellish stories.
Yes, Yeah. Yeah.
And anyway, it feels like something I'm up for.
Yeah. Good one. Yeah.
But not 40 hours, Lennart. I'm going to start small. So I'm really relieved for you that you got, that it came out 30 hours, because wow, that's 10 hours is a relief. And then when you get to 30 hours, you'll be thinking, hey, 20 hours would be good.
The really exciting part for me is just being able to say, no, I don't want to, in a relaxed way. That's just brilliant. I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, we've had some good exploring happening today, eh?
Mhm.
Yeah. But it's 5:45 here. Time for me to go and cook tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Vince.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. That was great. Yeah. Love that.
Thank you. Enjoy your tea.
Oh, well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ramiz.
Yeah.
I'll
See you
see
next.
you all again, I hope. Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.